Yeah, Mr. Ranjendra, you can start. Yes.
Started.
Evolving, complicated compliances, multiple networking platforms, and overload of information. Doesn't it overwhelm you? Would you like a simple one-point solution for growth as an investment advisor?
I started my financial advisory practice nearly 2 decades ago. Initially, it was fun being the leader. Thereafter, I started looking out for the community, which would help me set the best standards, figure out the way to scale up, and also ways to deal with the ever changing regulation.
It was challenging for investors to find genuine investment advisors. 2013 changed it all. SEBI introduced investment advisor regulations. However, a lonely
I
job.
want coffee a little late.
It was a lonely job as there was no community to help us grow. At the same time, there was a need for a client-centric community, and that is when ARIA came into existence.
ARIA's mission was to bring together a group of remarkable, ambitious investment advisors and build a sense of community to foster their growth, their emotional, mental, and financial well-being.
ARIA has provided an efficient and systematic framework through interconnection between its members, initiating knowledge sessions and seminars.
It's heartening that ARIA is the only association that's informative, enriching, and beneficial both for the clients and for the advisors, only because it's the only community that is client-centric.
We collectively spearheaded this movement with an ambitious vision for the future of investment advisors in India. We truly believe it's a great time to come together, lift each other up, build Practice Alpha, and make this world a better place.
There's a heavy price to pay if you are not aware of the ever-changing amendments. However, being part of this wonderful community has made my life easier.
The impact since ARIA's inception has been humbling. The intent now is to share life-transforming stories and reach out to more advisors seeking an opportunity for their growth.
The intent is to advocate client-centric culture and scale the advisor's impact at an international level by adhering to global practices and code of ethics.
The idea is to help investors with a holistic investment advice and establish as a registered investment advisor to be their only credible choice.
And to make a difference in advisors' lives by leveraging the collective power of group, networking, and learning best practices.
ARIA encourages new talent in advisory field, passionate women and men who want to create a meaningful, tangible change in the world.
Since its inception, ARIA has conducted multiple knowledge events and associated with financial organizations across multiple cities in India.
We are building a new vibrant culture. Industry stalwarts are coming together, and I feel it would be unfortunate if emerging and already established advisors miss this trend.
Building my business, managing clients' behavior, hanging with like-minded advisors, and getting industry insights. I found all of it here at ARIA.
Can you afford to stay out of ARIA? There are 1,300 SEBI registered RIAs. There is your choice. You can stay alone to face this fast evolving world, or you can join this vibrant community called ARIA. The choice is yours. Come, join this movement called ARIA.
Contact us on our website www.aria.org.in/become a member. ARIA, join the movement.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you.
This is the launch of ARIA Truly Cares, which we had all been working for quite some time, and trust me, quite late in the evenings as well. I am Renu Maheshwari, one of the RIA's ARIA member and one of the founder directors of ARIA. I'll be moderating this event this evening so that we can have a fruitful discussion and wonderful engagement with the luminaries which we could muster together today evening. I would like to welcome our chief guest, the special person with whom we wanted to get associated for a long time, Mr. Kamath. Very warm welcome to you, sir. It's an honor to have you over here.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Pramod Rao. He's the special guest for the evening, and the number of things that we can talk about him is, I think the evening will be shorter for that. So we'll take it from there. Very welcome to you, sir. Nice to have you here today. Today we'll have the privilege of having both these gentlemen and talking about transmission of assets. Mr. Pramod Rao's paper, which he has very painstakingly put together, and an extremely wonderful document for all of us to be able to use in future, and to probably become a path breaker for all the problems that we are facing in terms of transmission. This is the Hindu month of Shraddh. I think we could not have paid a better tribute to the departed souls due to COVID. At least help the people left behind in taking care of their lives and the wealth that they have left behind. While Harsh will talk about ARIA Truly Cares a little later, let me elaborate on this designation, RIA, SEBI Registered Investment Advisor. What is this RIA as a designation, and what does it mean? It literally means SEBI Registered Investment Advisor. And this is a relatively new breed of professionals that came into being with SEBI's new regulations of SEBI Registered Investment Advisor Regulations of 2013. While there are a lot of rules that must be complied with to be able to become an RIA, the major ones and the biggest defining trait is fiduciary relationship with the investor. How do you develop that fiduciary relationship is something which SEBI has also put down in a lot of compliance rules based on qualification, experience, capital adequacy, fee charging mechanism. A lot of people say the entry barrier has become too high for RIAs, but we do believe that it will help us develop a society, develop a profession which is actually which will be able to help people and bring their standard of living and bring prosperity to them. An RIA is the advisor who is expected to provide holistic, client-centric financial planning and investment advisory services. I'm sure 50% of the crowd over here is the advisory crowd, but then there are a lot of other people who do not know about it. So a little bit of a mention was needed. The second thing that we are talking about today is ARIA, that is Association of Registered Investment Advisors. You can see the logo behind me, Harsh, and Mr. Kamath. We all are representing and sharing that logo. What does ARIA mean to people? Rather, I would use the word to the board members and the people and the volunteers who are working day in and day out with one or the other event. It means a whole lot. It means that this is an association which has brought together all the RIAs on a platform. I'm sorry, I needed this one. It's a Section 8 company formed by the RIAs with a vision to establish RIAs as the gold standard for holistic independent advice. And today, on 30th September, we go for the launch of ARIA Truly Cares. This is an initiative by ARIA. Like I said, Harsh is going to talk about it later on. Harsh, I'm going to introduce you now formally. We all know you for a long time, yes, but to the crowd and to the audience today, I will have to introduce you in a slightly formal manner. And Harsh is going to tell us more about what happened, what have we been doing in ARIA Truly Cares, and what do we want to go ahead and do in this particular initiative. Harsh Rungta is a chartered accountant by qualifications. He runs a SEBI registered investment advisory firm, and the name is Fee Only Investment Advisors LLP. Only he could have thought of that name. Okay, I had to say this today. Harsh cut his teeth at ICICI Bank and was involved in launching the retail lending business at ICICI. He ran startup firms apnaloan.com and apnapaisa.com before starting the investment advisory practice. A personal finance and tax expert, Harsh writes a fortnightly column, Truth Be Told, in Business Standard, and is also the vice chair of ARIA. And he is the go-to person whenever we need some legal and technical help in any of these issues. So nice to have you today, Harsh, and please do tell all of us about ARIA Truly Cares initiative and what we aim to achieve with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you, Renu. And, let me just start with a very sort of a provocative questions. How many of you are going to die eventually? Okay, it's not as silly a question as it sounds. I mean, just cast your mind back 2 years. And did this thought ever cross your mind? It's only COVID-19 that has thrust mortality in our faces, that we have to think about it. Even us investment advisors, all these contingency plans that we made for our clients, the contingency fund for job losses, they are being used because people are have lost jobs. The insurance policies that they bought, those are being invoked because people lost lives or they became seriously ill. So in this background, when the board of ARIA, when we met under the chairmanship of Lovai Navlakhi, and we were brainstorming about what we can do to fulfill this collective responsibility that the investment advisory profession has to its members as well as to the members of the general public. We decided to start with our members first, find out how they were doing, check with them what we could do for them and, what we could do for the public at large. Out of these deep and, very, very rich personal conversations that the 10 of us board members had with the 150 members that we have, 2 clear needs emerged. The first need was to have a repository of information. In this, confusion and maze of forms, processes, procedures, one place where you could get official information from the websites of the banks themselves, of AMFI, of RBI, of SEBI, one place where you could get that. And that was one thing that we wanted to do, and other kinds of content as well. And second was some kind of a help desk to help the general public to sort of navigate through this information, even though it was put together, to navigate this information and help them help them with their queries that they would have on this. So the ARIA Truly Cares, the content on the website arose really from this need. I am going to share my screen now to just give you a sort of a flavor of what's already there on the website. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of information, primary information on transfer of assets, on the death of the holder. And you can see here that about 29 different asset classes. We have the forms, the processes, the where do you need to submit them? All those things are already there. Plus, we have the links to 34 different banks, including 12 public sector banks and 22 private sector banks. And in a lot of them, the manual itself is there inside those links. So this is, official information all collated in one place on the processes towards the transfer of assets. The second, and again, some situation that's pretty unfortunate and pretty common is that if somebody dies, without really sharing financial details with his family, it's a situation, unfortunately, which is reasonably common in India, then based on our experiences, we have collated how you could reconstruct the financial records. I think Pramod, when he addresses us, may touch upon this, on how this process in a future scenario might be better managed. But as of today, these tools and experience sharing is quite helpful. The third part of information that I have here that has a deeply personal connection with me. In 2016, my then 83-year-old father, he suffered a massive stroke, and that left his bodily functions and even his cognition affected. Now, my father is a very punctilious person. His financial records were perfectly in order. His nominations were there. His will was there. And yet, prepared as he was, even he was not prepared for disability. We are blessed that his presence is there with us till today. But back in 2016, we really struggled to get access to the resources in his name to be used for his benefit. And some of those experiences and the experience of other members we have put here as resources for the general public to use in order to, how do you overcome if such a situation happens? But more importantly, how do you avoid having your family members in a situation like these? I'm not going to take you through the entire content, of course. The website address is being shared with you in the chat window. After this is over, I suggest you please have a look at this and do please give us back your comments. The second part of ARIA Truly Cares was this help desk that is necessary to basically, as I said, help the general public to navigate through this information and solve their queries, which is the ARIA help desk. Along with this, while all this was happening, I think we realized that this succession process itself was very tedious, making of wills, certifying them in courts, etc. It was very tedious. And, we were looking to see how we could have communication and dialogues to sort of make this process simpler. And, we were very lucky that we spoke to Mr. Pramod Rao, who had already written a very brilliant paper on reimagining nominations. And we brainstormed with him, gave him some inputs. And that is the genesis of the paper that he has written today, the Reimagining Nominations, Making Successions Smoother and Simpler. And we have spotlighted the changes that are required in bank accounts and safe deposit lockers, in mutual funds, and in dematerialized securities. In the future, very quickly, we would bring out spotlight papers for other asset classes, retirement benefits, provident funds, NPS, small saving schemes, at some point of time, even immovable property. And I think Pramod Rao will speak more about this when he speaks. What I really want to mention that ARIA has been extremely fortunate in getting support from Kamath sir in this effort for us, by us, of making succession smoother and simpler. He has provided valuable inputs, suggestions, He has written this foreword for this white paper, and he supports to all these efforts to seek the changes recommended in the white paper. I assure you, sir, that with your support and with your blessings, we will seek to foster communication, dialogue, and strive to get these changes actually implemented as quickly as possible, sir. To all of you, I want to say that investment advisory is not just about making financial plans, helping you execute them, helping you stay on course, and maintaining a fiduciary responsibility, putting your interest above our own. All that is anyways required regulatorily. But above that, I want to assure you, on behalf of ARIA, that the investment advisory profession will play an important role in the development of a robust support and a protection ecosystem for all investors. Thank you very much, and it's back to you, Reema.
Thank you very much. That was a great insight on the work that we are doing and the aspirations of ARIA towards our community. We would now like to hear a little from Mr. Kamath, but before we hear from him, I would like to give his formal introduction. I know he needs no introduction, and whatever I'm going to talk about or say is not needed. Nevertheless, it's a formality and I have to complete that. So give me a moment, sir, till I introduce you, and then I would like you to address us. Our today's guest of honor is Mr. Kamath, as I already mentioned. He is the former president of the New Development Bank set by BRICS countries. He led the bank from its founding in 2015 to 2020. Prior to that, he was chairman of ICICI Bank and Infosys Limited, two of India's largest companies. After completing his engineering studies, Mr. Kamath graduated from the IIM Ahmedabad in 1971 and started his career with ICICI in project finance. He then set up several of ICICI's new businesses as well as handling general management positions. That is something, at a personal note, I would like to share the impression that as a youngster at that time I had about Mr. Kamath, because I met few women project engineers from ICICI in my new job in Indore. And I was really very happy to see that, organizations are encouraging women to travel around and take up these project jobs, which were quite a male domain earlier. That was my first introduction with Mr. Kamath personally. In 1988, Mr. Kamath joined the Asian Development Bank in Manila. Mr. Kamath returned to India in 1996 to take over as managing director and chief executive at ICICI, which later merged with ICICI Bank. Mr. Kamath was conferred the Padma Bhushan, one of India's highest civilian honors, in 2008. He has received widespread recognition internationally and in India, including being named CNBC's Asian Business Leader in 2001, Businessman of the Year by Forbes Asia, and Business Leader of the Year by the Economic Times. That was in 2007. Mr. Kamath has been president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, which we popularly know as CII, the country's apex industry association, and of course a co-chair of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos. Really an honor to have you over here today, sir, and a privilege to be able to talk to you. Please do address our audience and give us a better insight of things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renu. Good evening, friends. And let me thank RIA and the leadership team for inviting me, having me here today. When Harsh talked about this, I readily agree. Because this is a subject that has been in my mind for a long time. A long time meaning going back almost 20 years to the time I took over as CEO of ICICI Bank. One of the first things that I had to face, it must have been around 2002, was an email from a customer who was facing all sorts of challenges in basically succession, transmittal of assets held with the bank. And I talked to our people, and I found that we had very little knowledge on how this process works. We must, I must admit in retrospect, we were a young bank, and we had to take steps to firstly educate ourselves, then provide service to our customers in this, what I call very difficult times that the customer would have faced. We tried our best at that point in time, and I think bank became probably a better, informed party in terms of how to deal with this. But when Harsh pointed out the things that needed to be done, again, it was like, to me, again, revisiting the past. I must also say that I went through a personal tragedy in the last couple of months, and I had to personally go through this entire process in terms of both, all the succession that happens. Now, the bank that I was working with and the accounts were in a fair shape. And indeed, I can say that compared to 2002 or 2001, today it is much better. But even there, I must say that with all, let us say, the resources I had, the type of service I got from the concerned bank, it took me probably 3 Zoom meetings with the various bank people to educate myself, understand the processes, look at the documentations. There are 2 parts to this. One is, the first is the transmitter. And then simultaneously, if you are to nominate, how do you go about it? And I would, again, suggest to the leadership of ARIA that you need to look at the second part also, handholding the customer that you are advising on what he does now, once the asset has come to him, what sort of nominations, what does he have to think through, and how does he go through, so that that can be put in context with the bank. So I had, I would say, 2 Zoom meetings with the bank people. I had probably 1 or 2 meetings with the general counsel of the bank, and finally I had a face-to-face meeting with the bank officials to do the documentation. I'm delineating this for a purpose, that it is not everybody who can do this. It is not everybody who can reach out to somebody for help, for a simple reason that they may not know whom to reach out. The bank maybe, I will go on to say that bank probably is willing to help, but they do not know. The party which needs help at this point doesn't know whom to reach out to. And I was privileged in that context because I could pick a phone and figure out who I need to reach out to. So I think this, what you are now doing is, I use a phrase, yeoman service. This is something, service beyond normal in times of pain for somebody. Then the second part of my experience in going through this personally was that the banking side is a standard set of forms. I do not know the 32 banks whether they have the same forms. I don't know. I know that a bank has got a set of forms. But when I looked at the mutual fund part of it, just working with 3 mutual funds, I found that 3 mutual funds had 3 different set of forms, completely different. So now, if there are 32 banks and they have different forms, I'm saying I don't know whether they have different forms. They have different forms, and you got X number of mutual funds, and I saw 3 of them, and 3 of them were different. So if there are X number, are there X number of mutual funds? I can imagine what, as advisors, how difficult it would be for you. And of course, then I go 1 step up or down. You can imagine how difficult it is for your customer if he were not assisted by you, if he was on his own, to get closure and completion on this aspect. That, I think, was a wake-up call. And that it's at that point in time that Harsh came out and said that this is what we have prepared. And when I looked at it, it was like everything was there in one piece. And I'm sure, when the white paper is released, you will find that the work done by ARIA and the work done by Pramod Rao, I think how it gels into this. Now, let me put that work that is to be done in context. The way I see it is today, let me start with 20 years back. 20 years back, digital was just starting, still in the physical world. So going beyond maybe having a set of protocols and things like that to handle this, there was little that you could do in terms of digitalizing the process. But in a world where today, well, why a world? In an India where today you have the India stack, capable of doing a whole lot of things, And we have seen the sort of leapfrogging that has happened in just the last 1.5 years in terms of technology use in everything that we do around us. My view is that this work that you have done could very easily be codified to be digitalized, in the sense that it becomes a common set of digital forms, common set for bank, common set for for mutual funds and so on, and for all banks consolidated on one portal, as it were. And then, if you advise, and if the banks and the mutual funds also advise, like an evangelical process, their customers that this is what you need to do, so that at one press of a button, your problems when you are in pain, when you lost somebody, get minimized dramatically. And my view was in that context when I looked at the work that the team had done and in the paper that is going to be released. There are three parts to this. There is there's simplification possible at the individual institution level. That is a bank or the mutual fund, or they could simplify. That's point number one. Then there is simplification possible with a little bit of effort from the regulator. Just a little bit of effort, maybe a little bit of push, handholding, and those good stuff. There are just one or two points which might need help from the government in terms of change that would be required. So what I see is that there is a whole lot of possibility in terms of what we are doing through incremental efforts. When I say incremental, I truly mean incremental, not rewriting the whole book, as it were, because technology has moved, the digital stack has moved, and we ourselves are capable of using this in a very effective way. So, as I see it, I would like to suggest to ARIA that set a timetable for yourself, set a time frame for yourself. The time frame I would say is, on the outside, you should set it as a 180-day time frame. Within 180 days, this can be done. In fact, in the bank, I used to love to say that there is a 90-day rule. And anything that you want to do can be done in 90 days, including a technology platform, including something that you need to do, which otherwise somebody says takes 2 years. You set 90 days, it will be done. Just so that you don't think that I'm fibbing. The entire process of the ADR listing of ICICI Limited was done in 84 days under the 90-day rule, when everybody around us told us that it will take 2 years. Not trying to talk about, I'm talking about the rule. Institution is not material in this case. What I'm trying to say is it will do good, because as was pointed out earlier, these are times where everybody is under stress. We are now in a lull. The third wave is not there. Hopefully it won't be there. But I think it is better to be prepared and work at speed for everyone, for the institutions concerned, for the advisors, and indeed for the people who will be affected by this. So I would suggest that keep at least a 180-day rule and try to make it in 90 days. Outside this room, probably it is good to talk of 90 days so that it gets ingrained in your minds. 180 days is too far to go. And I'm sure this will be done with the alignment from the regulators. On this issue, I am 100% sure the regulatory agencies, whichever they are, will be fully aligned with you. And probably once you talk about this, they will push you to act faster than what can be done. So again, congratulations and compliments on the step taken. And I'm sure that this will be something that will be looked back on as a major step taken in easing this whole process that one has, which is very painful after the event. Thank you very much for having me again, and I look forward to listening to Pramod when he takes us through in detail. Thank you all, and thank you, Renu.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I know what Harsh always keeps talking about you. I would now request you to inaugurate the help desk plaque, the ID, by displaying the plaque.
We have the login details here of the help desk. As Harsh said, it would be there in your boxes, and I'm sure it will reach every one of you in real time. With no delay. Thank you.
Friends, I hope you have all noted that email ID. It's ARIA truly cares at aria.org.in. This is an email ID where you can write to us. There is a team of supporters, volunteers, trained volunteers who will take the questions and answer them asynchronously. I would request all our audience over here to spread this ID, send it around to your friends, share it with your friends, family, anyone and everyone, so that they can make use of the whole painstakingly put together material that we have and the team who is more than eager to respond and help them out. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamath, for helping us out with that. I would like to go to the next step now, and that is about releasing the paper that has been put together by Mr. Pramod Rao and ARIA team. Would you like to do that?
Yes, please.
Do the honors.
This has come out very well. I looked at, as Harsh said, a few drafts of it, and I was excited about it. This is the paper that will be released, and I'm sure we will have a key form. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Rao and Mr. Kamath and Harsh as well. Of course, I've never seen a virtual launch. This is wonderful. I think we can do everything and anything virtually these days. I would like to now introduce Mr. Pramod Rao, and before he goes ahead and makes the presentation and talks about the wonderful paper that he has put together. Mr. Pramod Rao is the Group General Counsel with ICICI Bank and is a leading thinker on legal and governance matters. He is on board with various ICICI Group companies. Before taking up this prestigious position, he has been with Citibank, Indus Law at very senior levels. Mr. Pramod has been actively engaged with policymakers, the government, and the judiciary in various capacities and influenced the decisions. Online dispute resolution ecosystem, spirit projects, including Sahay and Sehmati ecosystem. He's associated with Indian Banks Association, with CII, and SEBI subcommittee for regulatory sandbox. Especially his work with all the regulators and the government. We have a bright hope about what Mr. Kamath has been mentioning about 180 days and 90 days. Really look forward to that. A BA LLB honors from National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, of 1996 batch. Mr. Rao has been using his expertise for a good cause. He is here with us in his personal capacity. He has been participating and contributing to various law and regulatory reform initiatives of the government and regulators. We are glad to have him over here today, and very happy to see him being associated with this initiative, ARIA Truly Cares. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pramod Rao.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Renu, and indeed to ARIA, to Harsh and Mr. Kamath. I think all of your encouragement gave me the impetus to write and rewrite this paper. To me, it is something which I should say that my views are personal. I should say that and ethos of the organization that I'm part of. Truly, I think we believe in what is good for the and good for the bank should be visible in all respects. And I think these trying times, there has indeed been the bank struggling to both make sure that we met the needs of the customer and their families, while also balancing what were the requirements of the regulation and the laws. And it does appear difficult. And just to share a personal episode, a GC, a fellow lawyer, large financial institution, in fact, reached out to me for a transmission of what was held in a bank and demat account of a relative. And we had nomination, we could spot the nomination for the bank account, and that was therefore simpler. For the demat account, it just wasn't. And I could get both a measure of the disappointment, of the angst, and my own helplessness in not being able to, sort of address what was probably that family's moment. Uh, there was also a tragedy closer home. My own mother-in-law passed away, and I could watch my wife and her sister deal with their challenges, some of which are still not closed. And to me, all of it just meant that I wanted to take a closer look at this, and therefore the opportunity that I got, I indeed jumped on with both feet. Uh, Even as to talk about, and I have brief presentation during which time my video will probably be turned off. But before I get there, I wanted to, sort of talk about a few elements which many of us who've created some sort of assets, some sort of wealth base should sort of recognize. I think is that on death of an individual, with or without will, triggers an entire set of legal or judicial process. Right from a death certificate to seeing if probate is required when there is a will and tutor needs to be appointed. Or for that matter, when a person has died intestate, which without a will, getting to actually the court, to sort of then appoint an administrator and take things forward. All of it can be very, very daunting for successors who are coping with the loss, who are coping with probably, the loss of not just a family member, but probably even income. And the stark data point which I came across and which I want to sort of share is really, this particular aspect, which I would say is visible to me. One, that it takes approximately 8 months to obtain grant of probate court if it is uncontested, between 6 to 9 years if it is contested. The time limit also depends if it is before the district court. The process of obtaining a letter of admission or succession certificate is again 6 to 9 months if it is contested. It is no wonder that, the same thing which we have heard often about the court process, Tariq, actually is something which the successors keep facing. And this is borne out even data that I recently looked up, both on pendency as well as, time to disposition. As you can see, it's the 6th and 7th year where actually the rate of disposition for testamentary matters is where, the get disposed of. And that is the reality of what we all leave behind our successors to confront with, is one of the challenges. I have a data point that I have come across, but before I get there, I thought I should equally call out that the Indian justice, so as to speak, has been the creation of nominations. It is something which has served for a large part in bypassing the judicial process. It ends up giving banks and financial institutions due discharge while serving the customers of their successors. Nomination facilities, as I said, provide a level of relief. However, and that is what my analysis has been along with ARIA, is that this is a point in time view or status when the facilities were instituted and therefore require being relooked at afresh and with the needs of the consumers and the citizenry. Both the level and which I'm about to share is probably the other stark part about people who make wealth. This is the statistics of unclaimed funds that are in our system. And this is pre-COVID. The funds may have further expanded over a period of time. And what it simply reflected to me is this, that it is that we have worked hard, created wealth, but our successors and heirs don't even have a clue about. On the first set, when I talked about the courts and time it takes, at least we end up reconciling to that time and cost that the judicial process takes. On unclaimed funds, what it really means is that we don't even know. The hard work created all becomes out of reach and remains in those unclaimed funds. To me, there are a few that people can take. And really something which both Mr. Kamath alluded to, which Harsh mentioned. But to me, some of the things which I have seen and which have played out For instance, one is a handbook, and I remember its release, and there were very many friends who reached out and said they were looking at something like this, something which captures all of the emergency, all the details, not just financial, but everything else that one deals with, and indeed making a will. And I think I would this much about the will is that yes, there is a judicial and legal process. The way I look at it is that it is also something which allows your successors to have a sets that are surrounding you, that you have created. The other part, before I move forward, is also that many of us hesitate in having conversations with our loved ones, with our family members. These are conversations you need to have, whether it is directly amongst the family members, or for that matters of ARIA, or the RIAs or other trusted advisors that you have, on where are the assets, who's to receive what, whether the nominee aligned, and the man is certain the details for the family to move forward. To me, I would also tell you that there are things that I keep on across matters that I'm involved with. For instance, here to me was addressing the overwhelmed jury and to help litigants. To me, reimagining nominations equally can harness what is Sehmati's ecosystem, which is another project that I've been involved with. And to me, there are use cases here, both in terms of being able to check the status of nominations, obtaining details of nominees, but equally probably to conduct reverse inquiries for finding financial assets through nominee details. This can prevent the addition to unclaimed funds. Having said all this, to me, in the outline 3 key objectives in reimagining nominations. One is, of course, the convenience to financial consumers and their successors, due discharge of the financial services providers, and eliminating or reducing this to an overburdened judiciary. To me, nominations accomplish all this and more. And really, when I have to talk about what I've ended up doing along with ARIA is to identify about 15 or measures, many of which are simplistic, but equally reflecting some of the challenges. Mr. Kamath mentioned about whether there is a uniform in the processes that banks follow. I would like to tell him no, not. And that's why we need both a uniform and simple process, simple forms. One of the things, again, I came across is that bank accounts, and this is by statute, permit only one nominee, whereas a DMAT or mutual fund can have as many as 3. The proposition I make is there be any number of that the financial consumer wants to specify. Similarly, DMAT accounts, while specify the percentage, it is at an account level. Having single level nomination would be wonderful. Successive nomination. So imagine a situation where my spouse and I perish in the same incident. And if she was nominee, it again clouds up what we actually want to reach our children. Ability to sort of put successive needs would solve for the situations. Assets which can have, which don't currently allocation, which can be made amongst nominees. And again, the measure calls for making those also possible. Comprehensive e-nomination facilities. This doesn't require change in law or rule. This is something institutions can adopt on day itself, whether on mobile or whether on computer. Similarly, being able to complete or update KYC by the nominees, allow it right away. Equally, and this is again something which we have seen in COVID times, the incapacitated who might be in fact the breadwinners of the family and who access all of the financial assets for the family. If they are laid up, how does the family get access? So it recommends that if we can have nominees who can make that access also, or get that access to. Making nominations mandatory, centralized reporting of demises or incapacitation are things which again this paper outlines and recommends. With all of the unclaimed funds that I talked about, they are charged with actually undertaking educational units. And to me, that again is probably to espouse the cause of nomination is something those funds could consider doing. The legal reform, which is critical, is after attending to making sure that you can have multiple nominees, you can have percentage allocation, is allowing nominees to become owners and not remain trustees or custodians. And this is something I've consistently seen, that even if the statute says so, the courts end up reading it down because of the limitations of the nominees itself. Like I said, if a bank account has a single nominee, the courts would be loath to sort of say, let that be the. We've already made form in 2018, insurance policies, life insurance policies, allow immediate family members or spouses to become the complete legal and beneficial owners of what is paid out by the insurer. Extend this across the financial assets is a part of the recommendation that I make. In concluding remarks, I would like to say this. Many of us are quite blessed. We are blessed in having created financial assets, in being able to lead the lives that we do. And when all of this has been enabled, what we should think about is our duty to the successors and to our heirs and the next generation, that we allow our assets to be both understood by them, to be discoverable by them, and that is divisible and available in the form that you would to specify, and in the form and that the successors need. Leaving the affairs in shambles is a disservice to them and everything that has been achieved by an individual. With that, let me stop and once again thank Harsh and indeed all of you for listening in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. That was indeed eye-opener. Someone just mentioned on the chat, if this happens, if this becomes a reality, the whole landscape will change, and so many people will live a less burdenful life, so to say. It will be easier for them to get what they deserve to get. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to the last segment of our today's session, and that is the most sought after one, I guess, Q&A with Mr. Kamath. Harsh will take those questions and pose them to Mr. Kamath. I think now the dais is on to both of you, Mr. Harsh and Mr. Kamath.
Yeah, so good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So there are quite a few questions here, but I think due to the shortage of time, I'm just restricting them to 2 or 3. We have a question here. I think it says, India currently is fighting many problems due to the pandemic, preparing for a possible third wave, vaccination and medical supplies, other economic and social problems caused by the pandemic. In such a situation, how important is the whole issue around smooth and simpler succession? I think, sir, basically the question is, does this issue really deserve the attention of Mr. Kamath? I mean, when Mr. Kamath is there, we are talking GDP, economy, world economy. Does a smooth and simpler succession is an issue that is important?
Actually, Harsh, I would say that this issue actually jumps ahead of the queue of anything else, because you have, in any way, you have to address the challenges of COVID and all that's happening. But this issue, in terms of what happens thereafter, is now upfront in front of you. A few years back, we had the luxury to say, I think you said it in this, and we thought that we are all immortal. I think mortality now is become in your face, as it were. And I think every one of us has to look at it. So to me, this is item number 1. If this was going to take 2 years, 3 years to do, then I would have thought, well, we can work on it, work slowly. But after seeing Pramod's work and what ARIA had done, to me, it's now very clear that honestly, it can be done in a much quicker time. I said 180 days or 190 days. I didn't mean it in jest. And I know that this is something that the regulator is going to actually push faster than you guys are pushing. So I would think that all of us are prepared and push it. Just sitting together with the regulators, you can get what you want by and large. I want to just put in context one other thing, Harsh. As Pramod was talking, it came to my mind, maybe as a banker or that, how do we click the button in terms of action that is required? Is it only the family or somebody has to do it, or can it be done otherwise? You see, again, you talked about the India stack, and we mentioned that earlier on. There's another stack there which helps in this whole process, that is Aadhaar. See, till I went through my pain, I did not realize that you need Aadhaar today for the death certificate. You need Aadhaar right from the process. Okay, so the Aadhaar is logged in there. So when the death certificate is there, forget the death certificate. Can we not have that registry, which is registering the death in each state, linked up to whatever number of banks, whatever number of mutual funds, total may not be more than 50. They have to press one button and they are all notified that your account holder basically has passed on. And they get a trigger, and then they can be proactive and take up the thing. Point that was made that all these accounts are unclaimed because people don't know. So as long as there's a nominee, and you guys have taken care to ARIA to see that there's a nominee, this whole process gets digitalized. So today, I think the digital process only blocks you to the extent of your imagination. If you imagine things, I think things will happen. And government actually on the other side is gone far ahead. I think at times they may not realize what they could do with in terms of public service. All you need is one or two what I call evangelical governments to go and push with this, and the rest will fall in place. State governments.
Thank you, sir. I completely agree with you, sir. It is very, very important. There is a second question here. I think it's a slight continuation of the first one. It says that, here at the webinar today, we are saying that all of us put together, Pramod and ARIA, and we will try for the changes in regulation and processes to make succession smoother and simpler. How confident are you of the success of these efforts? And do you think these changes will happen quickly? But I mean, you have answered that actually already, sir.
I have preempted that by putting a time limit. And if you ask me again, I'll say 30 days. So let's stay at 90 days. 180 days in the course of this 1 hour meeting, I have brought to 90 days. So I think if we can do it in anything less than 180 days and 90 days in aspirational thing, it will be great. But I think things are aligned now to push this.
So this does remind me of my days in ICICI, sir. Sir, the last question actually comes from an investment advisory colleague, Dilshad Bilimoria. She has asked, over the years and particularly over the last 18 months, there have been many new investors who have commenced investing in the financial products. What role can investment advisors play in ensuring mindful decision making by these retail investors? And what role do you see the investment advisory profession play in the building of India as a strong and vibrant economy?
Yeah, I think 2 parts really. Let me tackle the second part first. India will be built on basically the capital market process, whether it is the equity market or the debt market. Large parts of it, particularly project finance, infrastructure finance, and so on. So that mobilizing funds and advising on where to put your funds becomes critical in that context, particularly if it is to the mutual fund route to then invest, or through the share route then invest, and so on. Indeed, as the nation grows, or the per capita income grows, or the overall GDP grows, the debt market is also going to grow at a significant speed. So you have a role in all these areas. So to me, that becomes a critical part of what you do. Tell me the first question again.
So the first question was, what role can investment advisors play in ensuring mindful decision?
Mindful decision. I think, again, a very important question. The key is mindfulness. A day trader is not mindful. He works on different premises. So you need to treat that category separately. If they are your clients, I'm sure you have a piece of advice for them. But I'm talking of people who are then investing, believing in what will create wealth for them. Again, I would like to say that at this point in time, certain sections of the economy are easier to understand. Earlier on, even those sections were difficult. For example, manufacturing. We might have had issues in the past, but now in a deleveraged world where things are on an even keel, people are more conscious of governance. I think you can probably set a path. So that covers a large part of the stock market as of today. The mindfulness is really required in two areas, I would think, which will be the fastest growing part of the economy, and that is the digital economy in particular, and the things around that. Not necessarily fintech, it could be anything, any type of product which derives momentum from digital technologies. And you see sort of valuation that is happening. Of course, the customer is probably not going to listen to you fully, but if you can communicate what are really the pros and cons of investing into these assets, that is digital companies doing things based on digital, which could have a tremendous future, but also could have a tremendous fall because there are too many of them coming in with the same thing. No clear cash flow models. Even if you project 10 years, you can't figure out. A lot of things have to fall in place before the cash flow works out. I think a degree of caution is required here. And this is where I would say an informed investor is playing. And somebody jokingly told me when I mentioned this word informed investor earlier in the day, that are you sure those investors are informed? That is, we are talking of the PE funds and so on and so forth. I think a relevant point. And one thing, again, the lay investor is not understanding this. Let us say a company with a top line of 500 crores is now aiming at probably a listing at 6 billion or 7 billion US dollars, and probably has the gumption to say that my true value is higher than that. Now, this is where mindfulness to the extreme has to be exercised, and you will have to take the customer through what could be the challenges. This company does well, we will celebrate, but what could be the challenge for a lay investor? The key here is, again, to probably understand and then put in context, how much have the existing shareholders put in as cash? Forget the valuation. How much have they put in as cash? Forget the losses this company has occurred. Forget its top line. How much did they actually put in as cash? And what are their expectations? So you could have a situation where the total amount put in is 20%, and they want to go in for a valuation which is 5x, and they want to release 20%. Now, they are put in 20% cash, they will have 80% of the economics. The new guy coming in, your client, will have put in 20% of the cash, same as these guys, and only 20% of the economics. Now, these, I think the layperson doesn't understand. He's just looking at what could be the listing price and where will I go. He's not understanding is that there could be a downside. So I truly appreciate this question, because this is a question in mindfulness. He has to be mindful, and handholding, your handholding is required to make him mindful. Like to say that when you are breathing, the breathing exercises are being done, you need to be mindful, but then you need somebody to tell you how to breathe and how to be mindful about breathing and the whole process. Very well taken.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I think this is a great message for all the young investment advisory professionals that we have here and who will listen to this later, that what we do for our clients is an extremely important part of how India will become strong and vibrant, stronger and more vibrant than we are. And I'm getting frantic. We wish we could ask you more questions, sir, but we're getting frantic signs there. So I think we will have to let you go for now. And it's back to
Renu. Thank you, Harsh. We have ended at 6 o'clock on the dot, incidentally.
That's right, sir. We still have the thank you to do, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamath and Mr. Pramod, for sharing all the insights. It was a wonderful session. while Harsh gave the genesis of what we are doing and how we reach there, the insights by Mr. Kamath was undoubtedly very, very useful for all of us. Apart from that, we can see that there's a common pain running through all the three of you. All the three speakers spoke about the common pain. We all as advisors also see this pain in with our clients as a, while we are working with COVID widows and all. But what was the brighter thing today was definitely, sir, your 180-day and 90-day target. It seems that, light is in sight, it doesn't seem like the end of like a dark tunnel, which is what we were feeling earlier when we were discussing, oh, is this possible? Can we ever think about it? Can it be done? So that's, I think you have given us a very big ray of hope in this whole issue. Thank you very much for that. And ladies and gentlemen, I think I cannot thank our guests enough for the insights they have given and the time they have taken out for us today. But also your presence, everyone has come forward in large numbers. It has encouraged us, given us all a great, much bigger energy to go out and do what we wanted to do with this whole initiative. On behalf of ARIA Truly Committee and ARIA Board, I thank all the members and guests. Our special thanks to the media and Good Edge PR agency, who really helped us a lot in putting this whole thing together, and especially online. We need the support of the whole media for this effort. Please go out, please do talk about this initiative so the work that we are trying to do can get some results for us. Thank you, Mr. Rajendran, for helping us with this complicated Zoom settings and making this virtual launch seem so easy. I am not thanking anyone in our board and our committee because we are all there together and we've all been putting in the work together. But yes, I do have to thank Colin. She runs the show. Helps us, her presence has made us all more productive. Thank you very much, sir. It was wonderful to have both of you over here today and hope to see some great improvements. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It went well, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.